What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, and on the phone, we got Jarvis from Cirith Ungol. Thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. It's so awesome to have you here. You came into the band at around 2016, right? Around that time period?
Right. Yeah. The band had not been around since 1991.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to reunite them for a long time, as many other people around the world have also tried the same thing. I had become like pretty good friends with the dudes, so like it was, you know, kind of through that I ended up reuniting the band and managing the band and also playing in the band. So that's the short of it.
Yeah. So for the new album that's scheduled to come out, like, were you like looking at like albums such as Paradise Lost and King of the Dead and being like, this is how I have to play, or did the band kind of let you bring a little bit of your own mix into Cirith Ungol?
No, I pretty much play everything stylistically, you know, like how it should be played, how it would have been played in that band by the previous bass players, you know. But it's kind of weird. Like I'm more like, the guys in the band don't really tell me what to do since I manage the band, you know. It seems to be me more on that end of things, you know. Like, so, you know, I was with my other band, Night Demon. I mean, we're touring like 7 months out of the year, so I have a couple subs that fill in for me while I'm gone, so these guys can rehearse, you know. And so they started writing some songs, and I'm kind of like the last stop, you know, like the editor, or like, you know, hey, this is like before anything goes out the door, like I kind of just make sure that it's legit, you know, because my job is just to protect the legacy of the band. And you know what happens when old guys get back together after a long time, and they usually try and be current and modern and hip and new, and that's not what their fans want, and it usually suffers because of that. And you know, even like the younger even if you have a younger generation of fans, like new fans, they want you to be authentic. They want to see you be 63 years old, you know?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, you know, that's kind of like my role within the band.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, like, being that this is the first album, like the last album came out before I was born, not to make you feel old, but like, do you think that this almost, because you wanted to like maintain the integrity of the band, maybe like this is technically just picking up where you all left off after Paradise Lost, or do you think that?
I mean, that was kind of the goal, like, and so Jimmy, the guitar player on Paradise Lost, you know, he's in the band, and he did a lot of the songwriting, a lot of the music, you know, so like, that's his, you know, his style is there, you know, and but you just wonder sometimes, you know, after 30 years of not writing music, it's not like you could it's just that simple, you know. Like, you just go, oh yeah, you know. It's not like that. It's like songwriting is like a muscle. Mm-hmm. Writing is a muscle, you know. You have to exercise that, or it will go away.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'd imagine that you guys are still, like, that Cirith Ungol is always still doing the same concept, right? Like, you know, having elements of, like, fantasy and different stories.
Yeah, definitely. And this is funny because this album's titled Forever Black, and if you look at the cover art that Michael Whalen did, I mean, and the lyrics of the themes on this record are very post-apocalyptic, you know, and it's, like, very current for the times and what's happening in society right now, you know? So it's really like, wow, okay.
What a time to come back.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's just unbelievable. So it's funny how that works. I guess 29 years was worth the wait, you know? It couldn't have been 30 years, couldn't have been 28, right? So, like, it's pretty... there's some synchronicity to it, I guess you could say, for us, you know?
Mm-hmm. And, you know, you've put out a couple of singles, like Witch's Game, which came out back in 2018. Right. Like, could this maybe almost serve as, like, a clear representation of, like, what the new album is going to sound like?
Pretty much, yeah. You know, that was the test. That song was, like, 14 months in the making. That's when I said, okay, look, we got commissioned to do a song for a movie. And I'm like, if this is going to be the first effort back of the band, like, I want to know, first of all, before we're doing a record, you know, if we just got to do one great song. Let's put it all into one song. That makes sense to me, you know? So it's a long, epic song, and it's got everything, every kind of part you could want. So, and it did really well, and it tested really well with the fans, you know? So, not like I'm running any analytics, but you know what I'm saying? I generally hear something, you know, positive or negative feedback. So that was the guinea pig of it all. And since that happened, then I felt confident doing a record. But when they first told me, you know, they wanted to do a record, I was like, I tried to push that off for years, as long as I could, you know?
Really?
Yeah, I was just not interested in that at all. I mean, what a way to blow it, you know? Like, I mean, that's kind of like why we put out this live box set last year, because it's like, okay, here's the reunion of the band. They played all these shows around the world. Here's professional audio and video. There's all these fans, and they sounded great. It's like, awesome, cool, success story. Not, here's new music, first time in 30 years for a band that started in 1972, you know? Like, this could be really bad, you know?
Comeback albums are always, like, I think, if there's anything more difficult than starting a band, it's reuniting a band.
No, yeah, exactly. That's a great point. Because it's like, when you start, there's no expectations. When you come back to it, it's like there's every expectation everywhere, you know? So that's a great point.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, to me, right now, the only comeback album that I thought was ever, like, you know, a massive success, you know, that we can go back to recently was Carcass's Surgical Steel. Like,
great. It's a great album.
Yeah.
Like, even the songs that didn't make it on that album, I think are awesome. You know? I'm like, what? Like,
yeah.
So, yeah, I completely agree. And they have, like, you know, I don't know. I've always said this too. Like, this is what makes Cirith Ungol's history great. Just why Carcass's history is great. You know, it's like they were around for a span of time. Like, and I'm not talking like their early beginnings or anything. I'm talking about the time that the band was putting out records and doing stuff. You know, there's like a 10, 12-year span. There's like 4, 5 albums maybe maximum. And then they go away for a long time. And then it's the same story, Carcass and Cirith Ungol. You know, it's like you don't have this period of 12 additional studio albums that now don't exist because that was just the dark times, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think it's all about, that's what makes bands' legacies strong, is like taking your time, going for the quality over the quantity, you know?
Yeah.
That's really what stands the test of time, because a band can have a couple good songs and have 350 terrible songs, and it does hurt them, you know?
Yeah, I think you got to make people miss you, and then you have to, like, you know, if you're coming back, you have to, like, it is really difficult, but you know, from what I've heard so far, I think this is going to span the test of time, this new album, so.
I really hope so, man, you know?
But being that Cirith Ungol's music, I've always thought was very conceptually driven. They've always told stories and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So, like, did the story almost determine the outcome of the music for this album as well?
Some of them, yeah. Like, some of the songs were written as lyrics first.
Oh, wow.
Which is like, you know, the drummer, Rob, he's like, you know, he's one of the founding members of the band. He's been in the band longer than anybody, like, since 72. Like, he was always the constant, you know? But he writes a lot of the lyrics, and, like, you know, he doesn't play an instrument. A musical instrument. I always tell him that he's not a musician. He gets super pissed at me. Like, because I'm like, you're just a drummer. You don't know anything you're not a musician, you know? Like, he gets super pissed, but it's funny. But, you know, it's just like, as a musician, like, you want to be able to speak the same musical language, you know? And that's how you communicate. So, like, if somebody doesn't play, like, a noted instrument, you know, like, it's challenging sometimes. But, yeah, he writes a lot of the lyrics, and we'll come up with some music around it. But sometimes it just starts with a guitar riff, too, you know? Yeah. And, like, Tim's got tons of lyrics too, and he just puts stuff down, you know, over stuff. He's pretty good at that. So, and he's so unique the way he sings. Like, he could make lyrics fit anywhere, as opposed to, like, if I was doing something with Night Demon, I would be like, okay, you know, I could write a whole story and go, this just does not fit the rhythm of the song. Like, it's just not going to work any way you slice it, you know? But he can find a way to do it somehow, so.
Yeah. That's very interesting, Adam. Because I've always said that you shouldn't listen to an album by Cirith Ungol on shuffle. You should always listen to it in like order in order to get like the full context of the story.
Yeah. It's it's interesting, but see, again, what I like about it is that there's not like a ton of music out there. It's not like Jimi Hendrix where like he's put out an album every year after his death. Like there's not a ton of Cirith Ungol stuff out there, but there's 4 solid albums and like a 2-disc comp of rarities that's been out there for a long time, and like that's plenty. I think that's a good, well-rounded discography for a band.
Yeah. I'd rather have 4 or 5 albums.
And that's the thing, because if you are getting into it, it's like, I think there's just so much noise today. There's so much like distraction and everything around us that if you get really into something and you can look at it and it's manageable, like you take the time to do it. As to where it's like, if you get interested in something and you see it's just this never-ending pit, you generally try and like sway away from it these days, or change your mind about it. Go, yeah, maybe that's not worth all my time.
I know a lot of younger metalheads who won't touch Kiss with a 10-foot pole because of that.
Really?
Yeah, because like, where do I start? Like, Love Gun, is a phenomenal album, but like,
right,
it's always hard for like people to like approach it from so many different angles, and like
yeah, there's a lot of different eras of it for sure.
So it works out that way. I feel like you guys definitely have the quality over quantity working for you.
Hopefully, I thought, like, for example, like with an album like One Foot in Hell, I thought some of those songs were the best songs of the band's career, but the album just sounds so terrible, and the production is just so bad. It's like, oh man, that's the only thing, like about Paradise Lost, that album sounds great. So like, it's good that they have that. If they didn't have that album, I don't know what the legacy of the band would be. It's kind of funny, So, but anyway, regardless, things are cool. I'm just happy that these guys are doing this band again. It's changed all of our lives, and it's been like 5 years now, almost, and just the things that we've been able to do with it have been great. And like, I think for these guys, their lives have totally changed. They're able to do stuff that they always wanted to do, and after not doing it for 25 years, you never think that that's ever going to happen again. So, but they've put the time in, and they've put the dedication into it, and like it's pretty cool to see what it's turned into.
Yeah, I think with this reunion, it gives people hope for many other reunions. I still hope the Smiths reunite one day.
Man, you know what? It would be awesome if they did. The problem, I think, with that is, like Morrissey and Johnny Marr, they kind of like screwed the other 2 guys in the band, and out of a lot of royalties, and they had to pay out a couple $1 million to those guys. And I think after that lawsuit happened, that was kind of a pretty sore thing between them. I could see Morrissey and Johnny Marr getting together and doing something.
Hopefully.
That's the closest thing that I could see, and I would be happy with that. I'd be happy, like, with Morrissey's band, with Johnny Marr on stage doing Smith songs, I think it'd be awesome, That would be absolutely amazing. Yeah, I think that's the compromise. That's what needs to happen.
One question I have for you, being a musician, is being involved in so many projects between Cirith Ungol and Night Demon and No Motive, which, again, was the first album I bought on iTunes ever.
Right.
Is there like maybe a usual creative energy that applies to everything, or do you really have to kind of like split your mind into multiple projects?
You got to split your mind, and it's hard. It's hard not to become schizophrenic, because it's like certain when you're creative, you can't choose when that creativity leaves you. So like, you may have to switch gears into something, and you're still in the world of like, I had some momentum going here with something else, and I'm still riding that wave, So it's hard to do that, but I just kind of compartmentalize my life, and I schedule my life out in like blocks of time,
Okay.
So I manage 5 other bands too, so it's like everybody has their time of the day where they get my undivided attention, you know, and that's just how I have to do it.
Everybody gets Jarvis time.
Yeah, it's really routine, but
don't you manage Tanith, who I interviewed back in the summer?
Yeah, right.
Yep. And then you also manage Visigoth?
Correct.
Yeah, so does managing bands also maybe teach you new things as well?
Big time. Failure has been a great teacher for me in my life, you know. Definitely. And the cool thing is, like, all my bands are, like, they're all cool. We're all friends. We're all connected into the same scene, but we're all so different from each other. I feel like it represents, in my opinion, like the best of all the kind of like smaller subgenres of traditional metal, you know? So it's something, I don't know, I'm pretty proud of it. I love all bands though. I like a lot of bands.
Yeah.
I don't have to manage them just to like them, you know?
Yeah. So it's interesting that you like mention that, because like, you know, there's been a lot of people in metal that also take up upon like the management field. Like, I don't want to mention names because I don't know if that's like confidential or anything like that, but it almost seems like that's a really cool thing, because it's like you help the band, and in the end it also maybe helps you with the creative process.
Well, the cool thing is that, like, you know, I never wanted to do this job. It's just you come across certain things in certain times of your life, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm ready for this, and these people need my help, you know? So I provide a service, and my goal is to, like, work above my pay grade, you know? Like, because I love doing it, and I love music, you know? So, and the bands I have, we're kind of like we're like a family, you know? So, it's really cool. It's like kind of like how you think, like, how old school independent record labels used to be, you know? It's kind of like, it's got that kind of vibe to it, you know? There's, like, a good camaraderie there. But, you know, the thing is like, sometimes I'll get an opportunity for Night Demon to do something, and we're not available to do it, and I'll say, well, what about Midnight or Visigoth, you know? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, totally, you know? So it's really cool. Like, one hand washes the other. Everybody's here to help each other out and stuff, and, you know, it's a cool life, man. Heavy metal's a great lifestyle.
Yeah.
If you can manage it, you know? I'm way more mellow these days, and, you know, like, off the sauce. So,
yeah.
And I'm actually enjoying it a lot more, and I'm feeling good, you know? And when there's a pandemic, I wake up in the morning and I feel great. Like, I'm not hungover and I'm not sick, you know?
There you go. So. And I've been staying busy too, living in the middle of Manhattan during this whole ordeal.
That is just crazy, man. We've got a Cirith Ungol and Night Demon show pending in Brooklyn for like June 21st. And they're still saying, like, hey, man, let's go forward with it. And I'm like, okay, well, I hope things clear up by then. We're ready to rock, you know?
Yeah, I'm hoping. They haven't... Right now, this thing is carrying on... They're doing it in 2-week spans when they keep the lockdown going, so...
Okay.
So...
Okay, right. You know, I mean, obviously, I can imagine this happening for at least another month, but, you know, who knows, man? I don't really... It's like... I'm not trying to pretend I have the answers for anything here, but trying to stay positive and not let fear run my life, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Is there just anything else with any of the bands that you're managing or with Cirith Ungol that you'd like to promote? When is Forever Black scheduled to come out again?
Forever Black comes out April 24th.
Okay.
That's the new Cirith Ungol album. Satan has a new track called 12 Infernal Lords. You can get that. Decibel Magazine has an exclusive flexi disc of that. Night Demon came out with a new track today called Empire's Fall. It's our first original song in 3 years. We have a 7-inch that came out today too. We just dropped it today. No pre-order, nothing. We have everything available. We pressed it up and we just released it today. So you can check that out, nightdemon.net. Midnight has a new record called Rebirth by Blasphemy. Yep. Please check that out. And, yeah, that's it, man.
After was the first interview of 2020 this year.
There you go.
Yeah. But, Jarvis, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. This was a fun talk.
Awesome, brother. Take care. Be safe.
Take care. You too. Everybody, Jarvis of Night Demon and Cirith Ungol, Forever Black, out April 24th on Metal Blade Records. Buy it then when supplies officially last forever. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.